Alright, hey guys, just want to give you my review of Agent Carter, the season 2 finale, Hollywood ending. It continues right where episode 9 of last week left off, where Thompson is about to detonate the gamma cannon remotely. Peggy is willing to shoot him in order to stop him, but the whole thing is rendered moot when a shockwave from the zero matter explosion given off by Dr. Wilkes knocks them all on the ground. They go into the plant to find out what happens, and they find that Wilkes survived. Now the zero matter has been expelled from his body, and also Whitney Frost survived, and she absorbs what's left of the zero matter from Wilkes into her own body. She chases Peggy, Wilkes, Sousa, and Jack out of the plant, and goes on this, evil megalomaniac rant until she's hit by a car with Jarvis and Howard Stark inside, and everybody gets into their respective cars and drives away. Whitney Frost goes back to her man Freddy's house to work on a formula to reopen the rift to the Dark Force dimension. And considering how testy she gets with man Freddy, he confides in his mother, saying how much he loves Whitney Frost, and the mom says that he has to make a deal with the devil. So he goes to the Stark mansion, has Jarvis at gunpoint, and it seems like, and Howard Stark says you can't just break into a man's house, and man Freddy just says like, oh, you can't steal a guy's underwear. And it gets kind of awkward until you realize that man Freddy and Howard Stark are just good buddies, to the shock of everybody else. And man Freddy just explains that he's coming to them because he needs their help to stop Whitney Frost. And so they agree to help him. He creates a distraction in which he gets one of his underlings to I guess act as, do this like let man Freddy rough him up in order to get Whitney Frost out of her room and writing all these formulas on her bedroom wall and all these papers. And there's a funny moment where the mob and she wants Whitney Frost to intimidate him into confessing to his allegiance, and you find out that he really is working as an FBI informant. But in any case, it gives Peggy and Sousa just enough time to take photos of all of her formulas, so they can get back to the SSSR, and Samberly, Wilkes, and Stark can start working on a formula to reopen the rift, and which they're able to do, to draw Whitney out, and they're able to use the gamma cannon to expel all of the zero matter, the zero matter / Dark Force from her body and send it into the rift. But the problem is that the rift becomes, and when they take her into custody, the rift becomes unstable, and they have to shut it off manually. But the problem is that the manual, and it was like a manual base for it, like the device for it is like right under the portal, and so anybody who shuts it off is going to get sucked in automatically. And so Sousa volunteers to tie himself to a pole with the hose, walks over to it and turn a crank in order to shut up, to close the rift, in hopes that they'll come up with a plan B to close the rift remotely. But he starts to get sucked. But the hose comes untied. He starts to get sucked in. Peggy and Thompson and Howard are trying to keep him from getting sucked into the rift. And eventually Samberly and why am I having a brain fart right now? And Jarvis come come along, and they said they'll be able to close the rift remotely by using what's actually Howard Stark's car is a hover car, so they'll be able to use that and take the core from the gamma cannon and fly it into the rift in order to close it, so they do that and everybody's safe. And beforehand, Peggy has a quick conversation with Jack Thompson, saying that he knows deep down he's a good man and she won't turn him in for working with Vernon Masters. And in kind, Peggy gets a key from Jack Thompson. It was like a little, like, something from, like, the Arena Club from Vernon Masters' suitcase. It was a key. They didn't know what it was for, and it was supposed to be something they were going to look into. Anna Jarvis comes home, and Peggy tries to apologize for putting her life in danger, but she just says that, she's home, she's safe and sound, and so is Edwin Jarvis, and she insists that she let Edwin Jarvis take her to the airport back to New York because of the fact he's so attached to her, and he enjoys his company. He enjoys going on these adventures with her, and enjoys being in her company. And he's sad to see her go, and even though she has to go file some paperwork with Sousa before heading off, he implies and gives her like a nudge nudge, wink wink, that in spite of Jarvis's own misgivings about LA, that Sousa might be a reason that she should consider staying in LA, and says that LA agrees with her. And while they're filing out paperwork, Sousa is being facetious and saying how it was reckless of her to not let Sousa sacrifice himself to close the rift. It was out of line, and it basically ends up with them like making out. And one of the last shots is Thompson being told that Peggy's going to be staying there indefinitely for, I guess, more extended vacation time. And then somebody's at his hotel door, and we don't see the guy's face, but he pulls a gun on Thompson, shoots him, and takes the redacted file of Peggy from the previous episodes, which were implied to be fake, but were thought they were believed to be fake. But now it seems like they might have some like genuine information about Peggy Carter and her past, and we didn't know what it is. We just see the guy like walking out with the files, and Thompson, laying out, bleeding out on the floor, either dead or just bleeding to death. Overall, I mean, I don't know. It wasn't as. I mean, it was pretty like a predictable. I mean, it was a fairly predictable. It's a fairly predictable episode. I still give it a 7 out of 10. And also, by the way, Whitney Frost ends up being put in like a psychiatric ward where she's hallucinating that she's talking to her husband about finding a way to get the Zero Matter back, and she's really just staring out a window, and she's like she was like scratching her face to get the appearance of the dark matter scar that she originally had, and it just shows like Ken Marino coming to visit her to see how she's doing, and basically just ends on this cliffhanger. And I hope we get a season 3, but I mean, rumor has is that ratings have been down. A possible cause, and probably and I think I heard word of the mouth is a possible cause is it's because that these seasons are so short that people are just waiting to like just binge. There are people that are just out there just waiting to like binge watch it later on. But I mean, I really think it's a really great show. Like, I really got sucked up into this thing with something that takes place in the 1940s kind of thing is not something that's something I could ever relate to. But considering it had like this sci-fi element to it, and almost like this this lighthearted like 1940s X-Files style feel to it. It's something I really enjoyed about season 2, and what was able to make it its own and be just as enjoyable as season 1, if not better. I know some people feel like it became too sci-fi-esque, and they liked when Agent Carter was season 1 was more of like a spy show, but I just like the new direction they went in with it, just because there were like some fantastical sci-fi elements to the season 1 anyway, with all like Howard Stark's inventions being way ahead of their time to begin with. So it just felt like we're kind of in this. Considering the kind of world and the kind of universe the show is set in, it just worked for the show, in my opinion. And I really hope we get a season 3. Find out about that, especially with the cliffhanger it ended on. I guess, given that I was so invested in this for so long, it is going to be a little weird for me personally getting back into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where everything's more modern day, and it's been like a couple months since the mid-season finale. But I'm still excited about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., about more about the Inhumans and Hydra, and that becoming a thing, and if that'll connect to Captain America Civil War. It probably won't that much, considering season 2 decided to take the route of just separating its, being its own, the show has to do their own thing and the movies do their own thing, just for each other's benefits. But anyway, I'll leave a playlist of previous reviews I've done for this series, and also a link to the recap of the first half of season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So anyway, what do you guys think of this episode? What do you guys think of season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Did you think it was better or worse than season 1? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.